Cliff deal and the Sandy relief bill, as the congressman just said. But here's something President Obama and the House and the Senate are not telling you, but Congressman Issa just mentioned it. Both bills are full of pork. That means special deals for special people. Maybe not for you, but special people. Millions of dollars heading to Hollywood and rum producers. That's only the beginning. Washington Examiner Chief Congressional Correspondent Susan Ferrechio joins us. All right, Susan, let's start with some of the pork. These are special deals for special people. Let's start with the fiscal bill. Who gets special deals?
Well, first of all, there's a backstory to both of these bills that it's important to know, but that the public has a hard time finding out about. For instance, when we're talking about the fiscal cliff bill, there is more than $200 billion worth of pork in there for corporations. And that is in exchange for their support of a tax increase. But the public doesn't really know about that. They're not aware that these corporate CEOs were going to the White House and visiting with Obama in the months before.
Sachs. Yeah, how about Goldman Sachs? Do they get any special deal, or are they part of these visitors to the White House?
They certainly are, and they are getting a deal on building in downtown New York City, sort of the post-9/11 reconstruction beyond that financing. They're getting about $1.6 billion.
$1.6 billion to Goldman Sachs in benefits?
And they are going to be building high-rises, apartments, and high-rise corporate buildings. And Bank of America is going to get a cut of that as well. So these are, people consider that sort of like a corporate pork, basically.
Well, and then they come out in favor and they say it's a good idea because they got these great special deals.
That's right. And in a sense, now, again, Congressman Issa was just saying correctly so that earmarks are banned formally. They're formally banned. But they still exist. They still creep into legislation, and I suspect they always will. And there's a reason for that, because you need to cobble together the votes to pass things. And not only the votes
cobble together, that's called buying and selling. I mean, cobble together is sort of a nice way to say it. But if you're giving special deals to people so that you get their public support or you get their vote.
That's exactly right. And not even lawmakers in Congress. They need the support of people outside of Congress to help sell the deal. So that's why they need these corporate CEOs to say, hey, you know, a tax increase isn't such a bad idea. But remember, these guys aren't going to be paying the taxes because they get their money through cap gains. So that they're benefiting and not having the tax increase affect them.
Hollywood has been a big supporter of the president. How's Hollywood done?
That's right. They're getting $165 billion for tax breaks to help promote the movie industry. So they're getting a lot of money. And this is Hollywood. Who would think that they would need, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars right now?
Well, yeah, but I mean, the extraordinary thing is that these get these benefits. I mean, obviously they get special deals. They're special people. They go out and they do ads for the president. They do it for the Democratic Party. But it's so outrageous when the party is on the brink of this fiscal cliff and Americans are worried about their payroll taxes going up or whatever. And then they get the special.
That's right. And then there's other stuff too. If you're looking at the Hurricane Sandy bill, which is also full of, like as Congressman Issa was saying, $30 billion worth of pork. There's money in there for Amtrak because everybody knows that the trains were affected by the storm. But part of that $165 million is going to go for a train tunnel between New York and New Jersey for high-speed rail. It has nothing to do with the storm itself. And again, a lot of this was to cobble together votes. There's money in Sandy for members of Congress whose states were affected by other storms, because they needed 60 votes. So Harry Reid, the majority leader in the Senate, needed to get some Republicans. And he found some red state Republicans who needed money from storm damage from other storms. So if you dig through the bill, you'll find that's in there. It has nothing to do with Hurricane Sandy.
Well, you know, that's the thing. I mean, Americans are very generous. And when people are hurt by storms, we all want to help. But the thing is that when these members of Congress slide in these other things, which it now has aborted this bill, at least for a couple of days at a minimum, but they slide in, then they get on the tube and say how horrible it is, outrageous. But they never tell that the reason that some people don't like them is not because they're not generous to people who are hurt, but because people have gotten special deals.
That's
and that
exactly
are unrelated
right.
to the storm.
That's right. And now what's going to happen is, prior to today, when Governor Christie and other Republicans came out and really excoriated the Speaker of the House, they were planning to take up this bill in two parts, thus allowing some Republicans to vote against the stuff they considered pork. One bill was $27 billion in what they considered essential disaster aid, and then a second bill of $33 billion that would have been more long-term projects. That would have given Republicans an opportunity to reject some of the stuff that they thought was pork spending.
And then the people who are really hurt get the disaster aid.
That's right. Well, now what happened today, as everybody watched on TV, Governor Christie talking about Speaker Boehner and criticizing him to the point where the Speaker has now backed down, and they're pretty much going to take this thing up in a form that will make it almost impossible not to pass. So we won't have that chance to either closely examine what the spending is or reject the stuff that was considered extraneous to the bill in the first place.
Special deals for special people. Anyway, Susan, nice to see you.
Great. Thanks.
And